The following is a production of Salt and Light Radio in Boise, Idaho. Kick off your work boots and pull up a boulder. It's time for Man Cave, discussing the issues that affect Catholic men in today's culture. Grab your favorite beverage, pick out a comfy spot around the campfire, and enjoy today's conversation with our two favorite cavemen, Pat King and Brian Howe.
Hello again. This is Pat King with Man Cave Men's Ministry. Again, I hope that you are liking some of these episodes. I've got several. This is about, I think we're on episode 25 or 6 now at this point. A lot of them are with me and someone else. Brian Howe, we started off with the first couple, then I did an interview, then I did some more with Brian, and some with Eddie and Brian and me, and then some with me and Eddie. Eddie Trask is my co-host on the Man Cave show, live radio show, every Wednesday morning at 7:20 a.m. on in Mountain Standard Time on Salt and Light Radio. You can always watch there on the YouTube channel. Watch that Morning Light show on YouTube channel. If you want to look up and subscribe to any of the podcasts produced by Salt and Light, it's Salt and Light Radio Boise. Go to their YouTube channel. You'll find Morning Light. You'll find Catholic Cocktail. Do you have yours on that podcast set up? Your salt podcast, Trinity? Do you have your episodes on it? Or is it just Man Cave, Morning Light, and Catholic Cocktail on the YouTube? Your salt is on there too? Okay. I don't see them all. I mean, anyway, barely have time to even watch my own. I don't really like watching myself. So it's not like, oh boy, I'm really good. No, it's not that. It's like, oh boy, can you wear a better shirt or something like that? Anyway, go to Salt and Light Radio Boise on YouTube channel and subscribe. You can subscribe to Man Cave, Morning Light, Salt podcast with Trinity, or the Catholic Cocktail, which is a fun, whimsical, short cocktails, how to make cocktails, and a brief talk about saints. It's a great way to learn about saints and some of the things you may not know about them that may not be written in every book you see on saints. So it's really, really been a great. You've got about 18 episodes, 20 episodes now, something like that. So anyway, so I just recently got a book called The Prodigal Son, The Return of the Prodigal Son by Father Henry Nauman. Nauman or Nouwen? Nauman. Anyway, I just got it. I'm just getting into it. It's really talking about Rembrandt's painting of the Return of the Prodigal Son and how that painting affected this one priest from Holland. And he found it to be very enlightening because he went to the actual painting in St. Petersburg at the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, Russia, and sat there for hours and hours just looking at the painting and looking at all the detail. And a good artist will paint a story that if you spend time looking at it, and you know the story, the background of the story behind it, you'll find things that are just mesmerizing and fulfilling. And Father Henry wrote this book several years later after talking to other people and studying other books about Rembrandt and specifically stories that were written about Rembrandt's painting of the Prodigal Son. And I was recommended this book by one of the co-hosts of Morning Light, and she said, "Oh, it's a great book. It's one of the best books I've ever read." And when people say that, it's like, okay, come on, there's a lot of books written. It can't be, can it be? So far, it's been one of the best books I've ever read. It because I can see myself in every aspect, and hopefully I'll do more on this later when I've read the whole book and have really pondered on it. But I can see myself, and so does Father Henry Nauman, sees himself in every person of the prodigal son. He sees himself as the younger son, the elder son, the father. And I think he's going to talk about even the bystander that's just kind of looking about. But he unveils the painting in a way that just looking at you, you just see, okay, you see a young person or an older young person, a son, a child coming back to the father. You know the prodigal son story. You know that the father welcomes him back and the son falls on his knees and begs for forgiveness and tells him he's not worthy of being his son anymore. Just hire him out as a slave, as one of the hired hands, and he just wants some regular food. He just wants to be kind of human again. He doesn't want to be eating like the pigs. And I raise pigs, so I know what it's like to feed pigs. They don't care who you are. They just want you to bring them food, and they'll eat everything you throw out to them. I raise batches of 10 hogs at a time on my farm, and so it's very interesting. They're just out to eat. They get big, and you butcher. And that's not very human. That's a very undignified way to live if you're only looking at it as your work. And he felt very unhuman because he was this high stature, this young son who took his father's, material goods before his father had died and took them and squandered them. Basically just wanted to be a snobby little rich kid that had his own way and just couldn't wait for his father to die to do it. So, in fact, at the time, at that generation of the story of the prodigal son, that would never have been done. That would be like telling your dad, I hope you die. I want you to be dead so I can take your stuff and call it mine and be gone. They just wouldn't talk. They wouldn't even let it happen. They wouldn't let that happen. What that father did, though, was show you God's love for his children, for us, by, okay, it's your free will. I can't make you stay and be my dutiful, loyal son like your older brother. I can't keep you here. You want your stuff. You want your goods. You want to go play. You want to go find your own path. Then by all means, here it is. God is telling you that. God is letting you be the adult in the room, letting you make your own decisions. Now, as children, I doubt if he was a teenager, the father would have allowed his son to have his possessions. So you got to know that this was a man of adult male stature, of some age, old enough to be married and have his own family. And so, and this is just my opinion, of course it doesn't state that, but if you look at the culture of the time, and you gotta whenever you view anything in the Bible, you gotta understand more of the culture of the time in which these things were being written, the words that were being used, and how things were the traditions of the family, the culture of the family, and the society, the community at the time. And that's why when a lot of Protestants, preachers and scholars go deeper into church history, and they want to go back to how the Bible was formed and when it was formed and all that, when they start reaching back into history and studying the true fathers of the church, the true beginnings of Christianity, they end up finding themselves becoming Catholic, as Dr. Scott Hahn had done, and many others that if you ever listen and watch the Coming Home show, Coming Home Network, or the Journey Home show on EWTN, you find that people that dig deeper into the history of the church, of Christianity, they find how Christian, how Catholic the church was for the first 1,500 years, and the church they've been following and been a part of is in its infancy in comparison. So they end up finding themselves journeying home to the Catholic Church, to the faith that the church that Christ started. And so you got to know that when the prodigal son demanded his goods, his father was elderly. His son was older, the younger son. He was the younger brother, but he was, if you have a large family or even more than you, the baby, the younger son, tends to be the one that gets away with the most stuff, because I don't know if parents just get tired of being dutiful and responsible and think the rest of the kids, I'm one of 7, I'm the middle child. So it's very structured at the time. We got spankings and belt whippings if we misbehaved or we mouthed off to mom or do any of those things. But when the younger son, the last child, was born, he could almost do no wrong, and so he was spoiled and didn't get the same beatings, the same treatment. I guess parents relied on us siblings to play that out or let that happen, and let us do the the teaching. So I don't know. I don't. The dynamics of my family were in a constant move. There's 7 of us. What do you do? It's constantly in motion. But the younger son, there's 2 boys in this family. It seems like there's no mother at the time. They don't talk about the mother. She may have passed. Who knows? It's not talked about. But the father was the patriarch, was the head of the home at that time. In that culture, that's the way it was. And really, in all honesty, it should still work that way, and not in a diminutive way, but in a leadership role of responsibility, of duty and obligation. The warrior in the family. So the younger son demands of his father all his goods. And so what Father Henry Nauman says is relating to basically the son walked up to his dad and he says, I wish you were dead. I want you out of the picture so I can have my stuff. I want to go and do my thing. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be your son anymore. I want to do my own thing. So he was an elite snob. He was a spoiled, rotten kid at this point, wanting to do his own thing. Now, these are my words, of course, but this is when you hear